Global temperatures rose to 100 degrees Celsius in just one day. Countless rivers dried up, and buildings melted away. Survival supplies are extremely scarce, and zombies are everywhere. Money became worthless overnight, but a single pack of instant noodles can make a beautiful woman do whatever you want willingly. One pack of compressed biscuits can even make two biological sisters fight each other bitterly. I was hunted down by a bully just for hiding 2 packs of spicy strips. When he caught up with me, he looted everything I had, without a single word, and knocked me out with a hammer to kill me, and left me to be eaten by zombies. When I woke up again, I found myself lying in my bedroom. When I saw the bright sunshine and the bustling market downstairs, I originally thought I just had a weird nightmare. But when I opened my phone and saw the date, I realized I had been reborn. I was reborn 7 days before the apocalypse came. Thinking of all the terrible things I went through in the apocalypse, I swore to myself in my heart that starting over this time, I will definitely avoid all the misfortunes I suffered in my last life. This time I will definitely win. If you were in my place, your first reaction would probably be hoarding supplies, buying everything like crazy. But what's actually more deadly isn't the lack of supplies. It's money. Where would an ordinary person get that much cash? So I didn't hesitate. As fast as I could, I applied for loans on every single platform I could find. I maxed out every credit line I could get. After graduating college, I've worked for 5 years, and I emptied every bank card I have. All my savings add up to only 150,000 yuan. This was the money I'd been saving up to buy a new car. After all, I'm still driving a used minivan right now. It's pretty embarrassing to pull up in it most of the time, but who would have thought? This old minivan ended up being my lifesaver in the apocalypse. I live in a small county. It has quite a big population, and these past few years it's caught the policy dividend. Its development has skyrocketed like a high-speed train. Before all this, I would have been absolutely thrilled about this, but things are different now. The apocalypse is coming. A large population means twice the danger. If something really goes wrong, as a thin and weak girl like me, plus my parents who are almost 60, we wouldn't stand a chance at all. This small county is definitely not safe. As for the apartment I'm renting now, it doesn't have any defensive capabilities at all. After weighing my options carefully, I set my target on a sparsely populated place, my hometown. That's where my dad grew up as a kid. A tiny mountain village tucked away in the corner of the map. I immediately called my parents. I told them to make lots of cured sausage and cured pork. These things last forever and are easy to store. They're the most reliable option. But I couldn't tell them the truth. I had to make up an excuse on the spot. I said my colleagues at work really love the spicy cured meat I brought in. In the end, I just decided to make a unified purchase. The quantity for the year-end welfare was quite big. I specifically mentioned this. We could just cooperate with the butcher who's been slaughtering pigs in the village for years. And the sooner the better. When my parents heard they could help me out, they agreed right away. To make storage easier, I required all the spicy cured pork to be vacuum sealed. Packed 5 kilograms per bag. The butcher just happened to have all the equipment and the meat himself. So the whole process was hassle-free. As the Lunar New Year approached, he suddenly got such a big order out of the blue. The butcher was grinning from ear to ear. He patted his chest and promised to get all the processing done within half a month. Everything was packed and boxed up. There were still 6 days left before the zombie apocalypse. The vibration of my phone became the most beautiful symphony of this early morning. Ding. Your 50,000 yuan loan from Cousin Loan has been deposited. Ding. Happy Finance has provided you with an 80,000 yuan credit line. The money has been transferred to your bank card. One text alert after another popped up, like countless reassuring pills. I didn't feel even the slightest bit excited. I just stared calmly at the number in my bank account. It jumped all the way from 150,000 yuan to 3.37 million yuan. This is what I got with 5 years of good credit for my corporate drone life. It's my first ticket to the end of the world. In my past life, money was just worthless paper. But right now, it's the only leverage that can move the entire survival game board. I didn't waste a single second. I opened my laptop. The screen light lit up my cold face. In my browser bookmarks were dozens of tabs I'd stayed up late organizing last night. All of them were wholesale websites for various supplies, plus contact information for manufacturers. The most important thing in the apocalypse isn't food, it's water and energy. High temperatures will evaporate most of the surface water. The city's water supply system will go down the moment everything hits the fan. I contacted a large agricultural equipment supplier directly, under the name of a newly registered shell company called Shaoshan Agricultural Technology. I ordered 10 5-ton capacity PE water storage tanks, along with a full industrial-grade reverse osmosis water purification system. I told them I was building an ecological farm in the countryside. I needed to store irrigation water and purify spring water. They only cared about the order size, didn't care at all what I actually needed it for. Next up was energy. Without electricity, the apocalypse would be nothing but pitch-black dead silence. A diesel generator was the first choice. It needed high power and low noise. I ordered 2 units. One is the main power, the other is a backup. But the real core was fuel. I didn't go buy it barrel by barrel from gas stations. That would have been stupid. I got in touch directly with the owner of a private gas station in the city. My voice was steady and competent over the phone. Boss Wang, I'm the head of a construction team. We've got a project up in the mountains with a tight deadline. We need a lot of diesel. I'll pay 120% of the market price. Buy out all your diesel stock. Send tankers now. Cash payment. Rewards bring bravery, especially with no risk. No problem, Boss Lin. Workers will prep it right away. The voice on the phone was greedy with excitement. Water and power are set. Next up, food. Parents' cured pork is quality protein. But you can't just eat meat. Carbs and salt sustain energy. Basics. 20 tons of rice, 20 tons of flour, 1 ton of salt. 500 kilos of white sugar. I contacted major wholesale grain and oil dealers. The cover story, stocking for a large cafeteria. The order was split into 3, sent to 3 different warehouses I rented with fake IDs in the suburbs. All morning, I was like a precision war machine, commanding a one-man battle. Over 2 million in cash flowed out. That beat-up used van I hated so many times was now my most reliable partner. I drove it across every corner of the city to collect scattered but crucial supplies. Medicine, antibiotics, high-calorie biscuits, and A military-grade heavy compound crossbow, bought at a high price. From a seller on an outdoor gear forum, plus 300 carbon arrows. I touched the cold crossbow. The pain of being bitten by zombies in my past life still ached in my bones. This time, I won't be unarmed. For days until the outbreak. At dawn, I drove the van away from the county soon to be hell on earth. Precision instruments filled the back seat. Various items and medicine that couldn't be shipped. I must personally transport them back to my fortress of doom. My hometown, Songshan Village. The highway was packed. The radio played cheerful pop music, reminding people the spring festival was near. No one knew a catastrophe was coming. With only 120 hours left on the clock, I gripped the wheel, my gaze terrifyingly calm. 2 hours later, the van left the national highway and turned onto a winding mountain road. The city's noise was completely cut off, replaced by birdsong and wind. Songshan Village arrived. The scene matched my memory perfectly. A small village nestled in the mountains. Dozens of households scattered. In the valley, my 2-story house stood at the most prominent spot by the entrance. Red brick walls, a spacious yard. Perfect. High ground, easy to defend, few people. Which means the zombie density will be extremely low. I stop the car. I take out the blueprints and tools prepared long ago and start surveying. The courtyard wall needs to be raised to 4 meters. Cover the top with diamond wire mesh and broken glass. All windows must be fitted with 10 millimeters thick steel plates, locked from the inside. The roof needs to be covered with the solar panels I ordered. A deep enough basement needs to be dug in the yard to store core supplies, also the final refuge. It's a massive project. I don't have time to do it myself. 2 days before the zombie outbreak, I drive the van straight to the city's largest building materials market. It's a mixed bag here. The air is thick with the smell of dust and sweat. My goal is clear. I head straight to the largest steel shop in the market. Boss, let's talk business. I slap a list on the table. But before I even finish speaking, a flippant, grating voice comes from the side. Yo, isn't that Linwei? What's up? Struck it rich and still driving that junker van. I don't even lift an eyelid. I don't need to look back. That voice, etched into my bones, I'll never forget it. Zhang Chang. In my past life, it was him. For the last 2 packs of spicy strips in my backpack, he used a hammer to smash my skull, blow by blow. I remember his twisted grin, his coldness as he pushed me into the horde. Right now, he's wearing a cheap t-shirt that says, Cousins Renovations, slouching lazily against a pile of steel bars. 2 shifty-looking buddies by his side, looking me over with that disgusting stare. Cat got your tongue? Zhang Chang sees I'm not reacting. His face can't take it. His tone gets even sharper. What are you doing at a building market? Your dump of a rental leaking? Or here to buy a brick to knock some sense into your head, so you can afford a new car? His buddies burst into mocking laughter. The old me might have flushed red with shame, might have weakly argued or fled in panic. But now, my heart doesn't even skip a beat. Like a dragon, wouldn't care about a challenge from an ant under its foot. I completely ignore him. Turning to the steel shop boss, who's starting to look impatient. I say, Boss, can you handle my order? The boss picks up the list, gives it just one glance. His lazy expression instantly freezes. Zhang Chang also curiously leans in to look. When he sees what's written, the mockery on his face turns to shock. High-strength threaded steel. 5 tons? 200 square meters of 10 millimeters national standard steel plates. 5 kilometers of military-grade diamond wire mesh. He read it out word by word, his voice growing softer and softer, finally turning into a whisper of disbelief. This is for building a bunker. The boss's eyes began to shine. He rubbed his hands and tentatively asked me, Miss, no. Boss Wang, we can handle your order. Absolutely can. It's just the quantity. I took a bank card from my bag, placed it gently on the table. Deposit, 500,000. Deliver everything to Songshan Village within 3 days. This address. My voice wasn't loud, but it exploded like a thunderclap in the small shop. Final payment, 1 million. Paid upon delivery. Any problems? Dead silence fell over the entire shop. Zhang Chang and his companions' mouths gaped wide enough to fit an egg. They worked themselves to death for just a few thousand a month, while I, the shabby girl in their eyes, casually placed a 1.5 million order. The boss's back instantly bent, his face plastered with a fawning smile. No problem, absolutely no problem. Boss Lin, don't worry. Forget 3 days, 2 days. I'll expedite the shipment for you. I took back the card, didn't even glance at the petrified Zhang Chang, turned and left. The greatest revenge wasn't beating him up, or cursing him out. It was making him clearly realize we were no longer from the same world. He was still bowing and scraping for a few thousand in renovation fees, while I was already preparing for the continuation of human civilization. This kind of dimensional crushing hurt him more than any fist. Stepping out of the building materials market, the afternoon sun was a bit harsh. I took a deep breath, but felt no thrill of revenge in my chest. Only a cold calm. Everything had just begun. 1 day left until the zombie outbreak. My phone buzzed with a special vibration. I opened the monitoring software, coded to link to the Global Scientific Research Database. A red alert popped up. Warning, anomaly detected in the deepest ocean trench. Heat source continuously transmitting toward land. It's here. The root of the apocalypse that heated the globe to 100 degrees, boiled the oceans, melted the buildings, had begun destroying the world. I wasn't panicked in the slightest. My death in the previous life had already tempered my nerves into steel. So I immediately called the steel shop boss. Boss Wang, add another 1 million. All materials and the best construction crew. Must arrive at Songshan village within 24 hours. Pay the crew a 100,000 bonus 1 hour early. 1 minute late, the contract is void, deposit non-refundable. Boss Lin, don't worry. I'll get it up the mountain even if it kills me. The roar on the other end of the line was frantic. I hung up. I floored it. The van roared towards Songshan village. Back at the village entrance, the scene was pure chaos. Over a dozen heavy trucks were blocking the mountain road. Boss Wang, shirtless, was directing cranes and workers. Rebar, thick steel plates, and barbed wire were piled like a mountain. They were being hauled into my yard at top speed. Not enough workers. I spoke up. Call every able-bodied villager who can move. 5,000 a day, cash on delivery. Boss Wang's eyes were bloodshot. He went to get people immediately. Soon, dozens of villagers rushed over with tools, full of drive. Mom and Dad pulled at me, frantic. Wei, did you cause trouble? Our family can't handle this kind of mess. Seeing the white hair at Mom's temples, my heart ached. But I couldn't tell the truth. I made up a story about winning the lottery. Mom, I won the lottery. I'm afraid people will come after me. I just want to make the old house safer, like a vacation villa. A lie, but faced with millions in materials and cash, Mom and Dad could only sigh, half believing. No time to explain. I took the blueprints and supervised. Orders were crisp. Raise the wall to 4 meters. Barbed wire on top. Weld steel plates over all windows. Install interior bolts. Cover the roof and solar panels. Dig a 5-meter pit in the yard. Pour the basement with reinforced concrete. Workers thought it was strange. But for the money, they followed orders meticulously. Zhang Chang's 2 companions were in the crowd, watching me. Their looks went from scorn to awe. I didn't even glance at them. Night fell. Over 100 searchlights lit the yard like daylight. Concrete mixers roared. Welding sparks flew. My house was the only one racing against the apocalypse. I checked the cured meats. 2 huge freezers were packed. All vacuum sealed. In the apocalypse, more precious than gold. So I had Mom and Dad move to the basement right then. 12 hours until the zombie outbreak. 4 a.m. After pouring nearly 2 million in cash, my apocalypse fortress was finally, roughly, complete. On the 4-meter high perimeter wall, lay sharp diamond pattern barbed wire and broken glass, glinting coldly under the lights. All doors and windows were sealed shut with thick steel plates. Only a few narrow observation and firing slits remained. Solar panels on the roof connected to storage batteries, ensuring basic power. In the yard, 10 huge water tanks were filled from the mountain spring. The reverse osmosis purifier beside them hummed softly, and the freshly poured basement, still smelling of cement, was ready. It became our final arc. I took out 300,000 in cash, right in front of everyone, and handed it to Boss Wang and the construction team. Boss Wang, everyone, payment complete, goods delivered. Boss Wang's hands trembled as he counted the stacks of bills. He fawned with a smile. Was it worth the effort? Boss Lin, if you have any more projects in the future, call me first, absolutely. I looked at him, calm in my gaze. Take your men and leave the mountain now. You must be gone before dawn. The forecast calls for a severe storm and mudslides today. The mountain road will be closed. This was the final reason I gave them. The paid workers and villagers were eager to get home. They didn't doubt it for a second. They packed up immediately and left in a grand procession. As the last truck's taillights vanished at the road's end, the whole world seemed to fall silent in an instant. I shut the steel-reinforced gate. I slid 3 massive, basin-thick bolts home with a sharp clack, completely cutting us off from the outside world. My parents were still in a state of disbelief, staring blankly at this home that was both familiar and strange. Wei, is all this really necessary? My father murmured. I didn't answer. I just walked to the monitor. 16 HD cameras. Covered every corner of the fortress without a blind spot. 12 hours until the zombie outbreak. 4 a.m. After spending nearly 2 million in cash, my apocalypse fortress was finally, preliminarily, complete. The 4-meter high perimeter wall was topped with sharp, diamond-shaped barbed wire and broken glass, glinting with a cold, menacing light. All doors and windows were sealed shut with thick steel plates. Only a few narrow observation and firing slits remained. The solar panels on the roof connected to storage batteries, ensuring basic power. In the yard, 10 enormous water tanks were filled with spring water. The reverse osmosis purifier beside them hummed with a low drone, and that freshly poured, still smelling of cement basement, became our final arc. I took out 300,000 in cash, right in front of everyone, and handed it to Boss Wang and the construction team. Boss Wang, everyone, payment complete, goods delivered. Boss Wang's hands trembled as he counted the stacks of bills. He fawned with a smile. Was it worth the effort? Boss Lin, if you have any more projects in the future, call me first, absolutely. I looked at him, calm in my gaze. Take your men and leave the mountain now. You must be gone before dawn. The forecast calls for a severe storm and mudslides today. The mountain road will be closed. This was the final reason I gave them. The workers and villagers who got the money were eager to return home. Without any suspicion, they immediately packed up and left in a grand procession. As the taillights of the last truck disappeared around the mountain road, the whole world seemed to fall silent instantly. I closed the steel-reinforced gate, slid 3 massive, basin-thick bolts into place with a sharp click, completely cutting us off from the outside world. My parents were still in a state of disbelief, staring blankly at this home that felt both familiar and strange. Wei, is all this really necessary? My father murmured. I didn't answer. I just walked over to the monitor. 16 high-definition cameras. Covered every corner of the fortress without a blind spot. 1 hour until the zombie outbreak. Dawn broke, but the sky was a dull, sickly yellow, stifling, making it hard to breathe. In the dead of winter, standing indoors, my skin felt hot. Every breath was like steam. Why is the weather so strange? My mother moved to the window. Her hand touched the steel plate and jerked back immediately. It's scorching hot. Just then, the TV crackled and turned to static. My phone vibrated. No service. Sealed on. No service. Just no service. A global electromagnetic pulse had hit. The apocalypse was coming. My parents' faces instantly turned pale. My mother clutched my father's arm, trembling. The TV's out. Phones are dead. Did the signal tower break? I was about to speak when bang, 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 violent pounding erupted at the door. The steel door shook. The frame groaned. I looked up at the monitor. Zhang Chang's distorted face was almost pressed against the lens. He gripped a thick crowbar. A few villagers stood beside him. Greed filled their eyes. Linwei, open up. You knew something was wrong, didn't you? Stockpiling all that stuff. Open the door, or we'll smash it down and throw your parents out. My father, furious, tried to charge forward, but I held him back. I ignored Zhang Chang. My gaze was locked on a corner of the monitor. Auntie Lee from the east end of the village was sprawled on the scorching concrete road. Her limbs twisted like a broken puppet, yet she was running fast. Her head thrusting forward, her body reeking of a strange, fishy odor. Auntie Lee, did you get heat stroke? A villager called out, turning back. He took 2 steps toward her. Those 2 steps sealed his fate. Auntie Lee suddenly looked up. The whites of her eyes dominated. She lunged and bit deep into his neck. A scream pierced the mountain village's quiet. Blood streamed down Auntie Lee's chin. Zhang Chang and the others froze. The crowbar clattered to the ground. The bitten villager convulsed. Seconds later, his face turned ashen, his eyes empty. He had turned to ghost. One of Zhang Chang's companions shrieked. He didn't get far before a mutated villager grabbed him. A sharp crack of bone, then the screaming stopped abruptly. Another pale figure appeared on the monitor, hunched over, feeding on the corpse. The banging on the door outside stopped. Only the heavy, panicked breathing of Zhang Chang and the others remained, and the wet, squelching sounds of the zombies feeding. My mom covered her mouth, afraid to cry. Her whole body trembled. My dad clenched his fists, shielding her. I tightened my grip on the compound crossbow, my mind ice cold and clear. Zhang Chang broke. He crumpled to the floor, wailing. Linwei, please open the door. I was wrong. I'll never do it again. His companions joined in, begging. I didn't move. On the other monitor feed, at the end of the village road, a dark, seething mass. All twisted zombies. Limping, crawling on all fours, skin flushed and festering. They were surging toward the fortress. The stench grew thicker. The horde was here. They charged across the scorching pavement. Their roars were deafening. Zhang Chang saw them too. He started banging on the door like a madman. Linwei, open up. I'm gonna be eaten. I walked to the door, my voice as cold as ice. Zhang Chang, in our last life, when you pushed me to the zombies, did you ever imagine a day like this? The banging outside stopped. Zhang Chang gasped, his voice frantic. How did you? I ignored him. I turned to my parents. Mom, Dad, don't be afraid. We're safe. As I spoke, I slid open the firing port cover. The crossbow bolt aimed at the approaching horde. Outside the window, Zhang Chang screams. The zombies' roars, the sickening crunch of bone, all mixed together. The heat warped the air with a sizzle. The horde pressed closer. Zhang Chang and the others were trapped in the middle, shoving each other back, hopping on the burning ground. The zombies in front closed in, utterly trapped. My hand on the crossbow was steady as a rock. Its coolness quelled the heat. My eyes locked on the horde. My parents huddled close. They were still trembling, but the panic was gone. They knew I could protect them. This time, I will live. I will watch Zhang Chang pay in blood. The horde reached the fortress wall. I tightened my finger on the trigger, ready for the fight. The apocalypse had truly begun. The moment I squeezed the trigger, the carbon fiber bolt shot out with a sharp whistle. It pierced clean through the eye socket of the lead zombie. The fletching lodged deep in the bone at the back of its skull. The zombie staggered, its grayish body swaying. Then it crashed heavily against the scorching steel door. No AC inside. Sweat streamed down my temples, soaking my shirt. It clung to me, sticky and gross. No time to wipe it. I quickly drew another bolt and loaded the crossbow. My eyes stayed glued to the monitor screen. Zhang Chang is surrounded by 3 zombies. He found a rock and is swinging it wildly. His pet leg is smoking, but he doesn't care. He lets out a desperate wail. The coldness with which he pushed me into the horde in our past life forms a stark contrast to his current wretched state. I feel no pity, only an icy calm. More and more zombies press in, a dark mass jostling. Outside the wall, they don't seem to feel the heat, or fear the sharp barbed wire. They just charge the fortress on instinct. Some zombies are knocked down in the crush. They're immediately trampled into paste by the ones behind. Thick blood flows onto the scorching concrete. It instantly sizzles, releasing an even more pungent stench. The 4-meter-high wall vibrates from the impact. Diamond-shaped barbed wire pierces zombie flesh, ripping out chunks of rotten skin. But it can't stop their relentless assault. Wei, should we close the basement door? Dad's voice trembles slightly. He grips the fire axe I prepared earlier, standing protectively in front of Mom. His eyes show fear, but more determination. Mom's face is pale. She clutches my arm, her nails digging into my flesh. But she makes no sound. She just grits her teeth, watching the monitor. I shake my head. I move quickly to another firing port. Another arrow flies, piercing the throat of a zombie climbing the wall. No. The basement is our last resort. Not yet. Dad, check the roof solar panels. Don't let zombies climb up and damage them. Mom, go to the basement. Bring the spare crossbow bolts and gas cans to the stairwell. I speak rapidly. each word carrying unwavering certainty. My parents don't hesitate, immediately following my orders. On the monitor, Zhang Chang's wails grow weaker. A zombie sinks his teeth deep into his arm. Blood sprays out. He pushes it away with all his might, only to be tackled to the ground by another. More zombies pile on immediately. All I see is a mass of grayish figures writhing over him. Soon, his sounds are gone. Only the crisp snap of breaking bones remains, and the wet sound of zombies feeding. I look away. I don't look that way again. Now's not the time to be distracted. The zombie assault intensifies. Fine cracks have appeared at the base of the wall. At this rate, it will collapse eventually. I shift my firing angle. Aim at the zombies gathered at the base of the wall. Shoot them one by one. Crossbow bolts have great penetration power. Sometimes a single bolt can pierce right through 2 zombies. There are just too many zombies. One falls down. Another immediately takes its place. We can never kill them all. Before long, most of our 300 crossbow bolts are gone. I have to speed up how fast I reload the crossbow. My fingers are rubbed red by the crossbow frame, even bleeding. But I don't even notice it. All my attention is focused on aiming and shooting. Suddenly, on the monitor screen, an abnormally tall figure appears. He's more than twice as tall as a normal zombie, with bulging muscles all over his body. His skin is dark red, looks like it's been cooked through. His arms are as thick as my waist, and his nails are sharp and long. They glint with a dark green cold light. That must be a mutated zombie. I never saw such a terrifying creature in my past life. As soon as he appears, he charges straight at the wall. His enormous fist slams hard into the wall with a deafening boom. The wall shakes violently, and the cracks instantly widen a lot. Gravel crumbles down non-stop. Wei, something's wrong. The wall's going to collapse. Dad yells from the rooftop. He's holding a steel rebar in his hand, fighting desperately to beat back the zombies trying to climb up. I look up at the rooftop monitor. I see several zombies have already climbed along the barbed wire to the top of the wall and are pouncing straight toward Dad. Even though Dad has a weapon, he's getting on in years. He's not as agile as the zombies, and quickly gets cornered. My heart tightens. I immediately grab the gas can beside me, pop the lid open, and pour it out through the shooting port. The gasoline splashes onto the zombies on the wall and spreads instantly. Then I quickly pull out a lighter, light a newspaper and throw it out. With a loud boom, flames burst out instantly. The zombies on the wall are engulfed in fire. They let out miserable roars, and fall off the wall one after another, hitting the ground and turning into balls of fire. Dad takes the opportunity to pick up a steel rebar on the ground, slams it hard at the remaining few zombies, and finally gets out of danger. But that mutated zombie isn't afraid of fire. The flames burn his body. He just lets out a furious roar, and rams the wall even more wildly. Bang, bang, bang. Every impact makes the entire fortress shake along with it. The steel plate door is already dented, and the 3 giant door bolts are also creaking under the unbearable weight. I know we can't keep wasting time like this. I have to find a way to take out this mutated zombie. Otherwise, sooner or later he'll break through the gate. I quickly rack my brain for a plan. My gaze sweeps over the water storage tank in the yard and the excavated basement. The rest of the pit has I immediately call Dad. You help me dig the pit in the yard a little deeper. Then pour half of the gasoline in the gasoline drum. Come on, Dad. I don't know what I'm going to do. But still immediately picked up the shovel, desperately digging the pit. And my mother handed me the rest of the crossbows. Then helped Dad dig a hole together. Mutated zombies are still in the frenzied impact. The cracks in the fence are getting bigger and bigger. There's already rubble falling down. I hold the compound crossbow and aim at the eyes of the mutant walkers. That's his only weakness. I take a deep breath. Steady your hand, buckle down the crossbow, the arrows carry the wind. Directly into the left eye of the mutant zombie. The mutable zombie reaction quickly and suddenly turned the head. The arrow flew across his cheek. Only bring out a deep wound. Black and green blood spurted out. The mutant zombies were enraged, roaring towards the shooting hole. Huge fist slammed on the steel plate. The deformation of the baffle of the shooting hole was almost broken by it. I immediately stepped back and picked up the fire axe beside me. Hold it tight in your hand once it breaks the baffle. I can only fight it at close range. Dad shouted to Wei that the pit was dug. Gasoline poured in, and I nodded immediately. Quickly moved to the gate of the yard to open a gap. Then splashed the rest of the gasoline on the open space outside the gate. It goes all the way to the side of the pit. The mutant zombie saw a gap in the gate. He immediately gave up the shot and rushed towards the gate. I took the opportunity to light the newspaper and throw it on the gasoline. Flames spread instantly along the gasoline, blocking the path of the mutated zombies, but he is still not afraid. Straight through the flames towards the gate. I was ready. Wait until the mutant zombies approached the pit. I jerked open a bigger gap in the gate. After picking up a long steel bar, he poked at the mutant zombie's leg. Mutated zombies stumble with a roar of pain. Fell right into the dug pit. Dad, pour the rest of the gas in. I'm yelling. The steel bar in his hand is dead against the body of the mutant zombie. Don't let it climb up. Dad immediately picked up the petrol drum, poured gasoline into the pit, and my mother lit the newspaper. It was thrown into the pit, and the flame instantly ignited in the pit. Wrapped in the mutant zombies, he gave a shrill roar, struggling desperately in the fire pit. Huge bodies keep crashing against the walls of the pit. The dirt pit was so deep that he couldn't climb it. It wasn't long before he was. The growls of the mutant zombie grew weaker and weaker. It finally collapsed into the fire pit, becoming a charred corpse. After dealing with the mutant zombie, The remaining regular zombies were much easier to handle. Without the mutant leading them, they just wandered aimlessly outside the wall. Their attacks lost their previous force. Dad and I took turns guarding the firing ports and the roof. Mom was in charge of bringing us water and food. She occasionally helped us load arrows. The intense heat persisted. Sunlight filtered through the hazy sky, making us dizzy. But we couldn't let our guard down for a second. If we stopped, the zombies might find an opening. At noon, the solar panels on the roof suddenly malfunctioned. A few zombies, though barely alive from the flames, still mustered the strength to climb onto the roof. They damaged 2 solar panels. Without solar power, the indoor surveillance and lighting had to rely on the backup battery. But its charge was limited and wouldn't last long. I immediately decided to start the diesel generator. Dad went to the basement to turn it on. Soon, power was restored in the house. The surveillance screens became clear again. The generator's noise wasn't loud, but it still attracted the attention of some zombies. They lunged toward the basement's ventilation shaft, trying to crawl in. I grabbed the fire axe and ran to the basement's ventilation shaft. I had installed wire mesh over the vent earlier. The zombies couldn't get through, but they didn't give up. They clawed desperately at the mesh, making a screeching sound. The mesh quickly deformed. I couldn't take any chances. I picked up the gasoline nearby, poured a bit through the vent's gaps, lit a lighter, and threw it in. Flames instantly erupted from the vent. The zombies inside let out a piercing shriek, then fell silent. Seizing the opportunity, I reinforced the wire mesh with rebar, ensuring no gaps. By afternoon, the horde's numbers had noticeably dwindled. Most zombies were killed by us or incinerated by the flames. The few remaining just wandered aimlessly outside the wall, with no strength left to assault it. Dad and I took the chance to check the fortress's defenses. The wall had cracks but was still sturdy. The steel door was dented but not breached. Though 2 roof solar panels were damaged, the rest were still functional. The water tank was well stocked. The supplies in the basement are all intact. By evening, the sky is still a gloomy yellow. The temperature has dropped a bit, but it's still very hot. I had Mom and Dad go rest in the basement, while I stayed in the monitoring room, keeping a close eye outside. Looking at the empty village road on the screen, with only a few zombie corpses and scorch marks left, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. The tension from the long day slowly faded away. I killed countless zombies today. My hands are covered in their dark green blood, and my clothes are splattered with filth. But I don't feel disgusted at all. Only a profound sense of relief for surviving the disaster. In my past life, I was weak and helpless, ending up as zombie food. This time, I fought with everything I had, made all the preparations. I not only protected myself but also my parents. I did it. In the following days, my parents and I cleared the zombie corpses outside the wall, gathered and burned them to prevent bacteria. We reinforced the wall again. We replaced the broken solar panels and installed new ones. We also planted some easy-to-grow vegetables in the yard, like potatoes and greens, to ensure our long-term survival. The cured meats, rice, and flour in the basement are plentiful. The water in the storage tank is enough for a long time. We also have plenty of fuel for the diesel generator. Our end-of-the-world fortress is getting stronger. Occasionally, a few stray zombies would wander in from outside the mountains, but they couldn't breach our defenses at all. I quickly took them down with my crossbow. Dad slowly adapted to this post-apocalyptic life. He's no longer afraid of zombies. Instead, he can skillfully use a fire axe and rebar to help me guard the fortress. Mom takes care of the vegetables in the yard and cooks our meals, so we can still have hot food even in the apocalypse. A month later, the sky gradually stopped being yellow. The temperature returned to normal. Another 3 months passed. My phone finally got a weak signal. Turning on the radio, I could receive messages from the National Survivor Base. They said the abnormal heat sources were gone, and the zombie virus was ineffective. Everywhere was rebuilding and rescuing survivors. We weren't in a hurry to leave. This fortress is the safest place. Order outside isn't stable yet. We'll wait another 6 months. The apocalypse was finally over. The mountain road outside opened. We often saw rescue team vehicles and survivors coming and going. The yard was already full of life. Vegetables covered the fence. The roses Mom planted bloomed, smelling wonderful. In the evening, my parents and I sat at the stone table in the yard, drinking tea and eating roasted sweet potatoes as the sunset painted the mountains red. When the wind blows, the leaves rustle, it feels so nice. Back in the apocalypse, the whole world was in chaos, and everyone's true nature, good or evil, was laid bare. But I was lucky. I fought like crazy to protect my parents. We made it through that darkest time. Those days fighting zombies and defending the fort are all in the past now. The apocalypse took so many things from us, but it also taught me this. A peaceful life and family are the most precious things of all. The sun is setting behind the mountain. The barbed wire we used to keep zombies out was taken down ages ago. That thick steel plate door was also replaced with an ordinary wooden one. Only the supplies left in the basement still remind me of the old days. The town down the mountain has come back to life too. Neighbors borrow vegetable seeds from each other and trade food every day. I hold my parents' hands tight, and my heart feels so steady and calm. The apocalypse is finally over, and the world is peaceful again. We got through every hardship. We finally get to live a steady, good life. This time around, I didn't just survive the apocalypse. I also protected my loved ones, and kept this warmth we have right now.